Hi everyone, and welcome back to Performing Academy's Friday Night Q&A series. I'm Haley Alicia Mason, Performing Academy teaching artist.
And I'm Rena Wilson, Executive Director and Co-founder. We're so excited to bring you our Q&A series today featuring Bay Area native, now turned New York casting agent, Rachel Wagner.
And don't miss our Live from the Living Room Sunday evening at 7 p.m. featuring PA students Dylan Smith, Grace Messenbring, and Jenny Coletta, and our special guest, Julie Craig. It's going to be a great NYU night.
We started Performing Academy, formerly Castro Valley and La Marinda Theater Academy, in 2011. Our goal has always been to help artists and audiences for the next generation. We ask that you would consider donating to Performing Academy during this challenging time. Your support now will help keep our mission alive for many years to come. We also want to remind you that Performing Academy continues to offer training and coaching during this shelter in place. And we just launched an exciting new summer. We're offering virtual camps in June, as well as some in-person camps in July. And August, we hope to all be back together when everyone is healthy. All right, without further ado, let's get on to our amazing Q&A. Rachel, come on in, my friend.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel. Oh, I'm so happy to see you.
Excited. This is like a blast from the past. I love it.
Rachel, this is so fun that you're doing this for us today. We're just so grateful for your time. And
Of course.
we've known Rachel. I've known Rachel since she was in college, but Renee actually met Renee when she was still in high school, and she was choreographing The Sound of Music that Rachel was playing Liesel in at Valley High School. And then a few years later, Renee asked Rachel if she would stage manage for us. And then Rachel ended up being a teaching artist, stage manager. We always love working with you because you're always so professional, on top of things, and it's no wonder you've had such a great career in New York. We are so proud of you and so honored that you're sharing your time with us.
Of course. No, I mean, I got my start with you guys, so this is like a dream come true to be able to come back and give back and, answer questions about life in New York or what it's like or the path that I've taken. I'm open for business, so ask me anything and I'll give you a little bit of overview of kind of my history. And like you said, I met Renee in 2009 when she choreographed Sound of Music. And then it just kind of progressed where I was working as a stage manager in Castro Valley for a couple different productions with you guys. And then I think into 4 summer seasons of shows with directing, choreographing, stage managing. And then I've also known Haley for since 2009 as well in Sound of Music. And we've been great friends ever since, doing different shows together. We did Hairspray at the Castro Valley Performing Arts Center. And then we've also, lived in the same building in New York. So she knows a ton about me. I know a ton about her, and we've kind of lived the New York experience together. So I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I'm going to let Haley take the rest, and I'm going to just listen in and learn.
Perfect, Rena. And thank you for being here, Rachel. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see us both looking so professional and put together, since usually on FaceTime.
Oh my gosh. The first time I've worn makeup in weeks.
Oh, I'm glad. So I guess let's just start, like you said, like general overview. So I think a lot of people, hear the term casting and they hear commercial casting, they hear agent. And like for me, I didn't really know what representation was before I went to college, and even still, like, not really in college either. So understanding like sort of your path to representation and then where it's taking you now into digital marketing and casting.
Yeah, of course. So when I first moved to New York, I worked at a talent agency. And there, my job, it was to represent the actors. So I was the one submitting them for casting auditions. I was the one editing their resume, compiling their reel, talking with them and really learning what roles they would be right for, so that I could better pitch them to casting directors. And then if they booked it, I was the one that would help negotiate the contract on their behalf, make sure they're getting, the money that they deserve, amenities in their dressing room, things like that, that scale, PTO days, out of office, like all those things, is something we would all negotiate. And then we just take a small percentage of that overall fee. So we are really working for the actor in that sense and helping build their career and making sure that they're getting, what they deserve and they're being portrayed in a light that they want to be seen. And then when I moved over to kind of the other side of the coin, right now I'm in casting, commercial casting. So on that side, I'm the one I was previously pitching to. So now, I'm getting submissions from agents on actors and influencers that they think, are right for what I'm casting. And they're telling me why. They're telling me that they're, the right price. They have great social media following, all these different things. And I will then negotiate with the agents, former me, and then we'll finalize kind of that deal as well. So I've been on both heads of the coin. I've experienced it all. So I have kind of that unique perspective in that way.
Awesome. Yeah. Just before we jump into more of like the specifics of like what you do and what you look for, I want to touch a little bit on, I think you've had an interesting journey too, because in college you had a double major in both theater and economics, which I think most people wouldn't think to do that. And so for anybody out there who's considering, anyone watching at home who's thinking about like, I think I really like theater, but I don't know if I necessarily want to be an actor. Can you speak a little bit about how you decided that this was the path you wanted to take? And because you grew up as an actor, we did shows together, like you were saying, and you did a ton regionally and locally. So your path to deciding to go behind the table.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as an actor ever since I was 9. I grew up doing stuff in Walnut Creek at CCMT and TheaterWorks and Woodminster and all these different regional and local theaters, and I loved it. That's where I kind of honed in on my skills, and I knew what to look for later on because I had that foundation as an actor. And then as I kind of came into college, I went to UC Davis, Bay Area local, stayed sort of local. I went to UC Davis and I went in as a theater major. And after about a year, I realized that as much as I loved acting, I wanted to kind of explore other areas of entertainment that weren't necessarily being on stage. And so to kind of set myself up for that, I double majored in economics. Davis didn't have a business or sort of management major. So for me, economics was the closest thing. And that really taught me like business management and that sort of, getting my mind wrapped around like the business of it all. And then when I combined that with theater, it really led me down the path of entertainment management. So I got to kind of combine both halves of my brain in that sense of theater and TV and film with, a solid business sense. And that's kind of what led me to this. But, at my heart, I'm like such a Broadway nerd, and I try and see as many shows as I can for as little as I can in New York, back when they're back up, hopefully in September, we'll see. But yeah,
for sure.
I try and tune with the Broadway gang and,
Yes, totally. Yeah. And so now, like we were saying, so when you were starting out working at Henderson Hogan in the city, you were working primarily with New York-based Broadway actors, some TV stuff and all of that in between, but a lot more theater than now when you aren't doing any. So I'm wondering, what because you come from a world of theater, and that's your base, your knowledge base. Now that you are in commercial, what do you notice any sort of like perspective that you have coming from this theater background, that you bring to the table with commercial casting? And also, can you just talk a little bit about what commercial casting is and what you do at Viacom?
Yeah, of course. Well, I work for ViacomCBS, which if you don't know ViacomCBS, you probably know some of our networks: Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, MTV, Paramount Pictures, Showtime, CBS, all those big ones. VH1, BET, spans it all. TV Land with Younger and Sutton Foster, so I get a little Broadway there. But yeah, so what I do is I work at ViacomCBS and I work for all these networks, but I don't necessarily solely do commercials for these networks. Viacom in itself has almost like its own casting agency built in, and that's when brands will come to us and say, we want to shoot a commercial. Sometimes it'll be on television, and sometimes it'll be on social media, on Instagram, Facebook. You'll see ads as you're scrolling through your feed. Those are me. And so we kind of will cast based on what the brand is looking for, whether that is a traditional actor that you would see on TV or in movies, or sometimes it's more of an influencer or someone who posts a lot of food, like a food blogger. Sometimes it's a famous animal like Doug the Pug. There are all these different types of talent that we consider when we go to cast a commercial on social media or on TV. So I would say, in terms of kind of what I bring from theater, is that on my team, there's 5 of us, and we each work in very specific lanes, based on what type of talent the brand is looking for. So I bring the Broadway background. Anytime they are looking for, a singer or someone who can really carry a presence on screen, it'll come to me, and I bring a lot of ideas from Broadway that then cross over to TV and film. Laura Osnes is a great example, someone who started from Broadway and is now kind of crossing over into Lifetime and Hallmark movies, but has also created a social presence for herself as her own brand. She's, Laura Osnes on stage and on screen, but she's also Laura Osnes on your iPhone. And you kind of get to know her and see her through that. And that's kind of what we're looking for, is we're looking for kind of that authenticity just in their everyday lives as well as their talents on and off screen. So yeah.
It's so interesting. And I feel like we were just talking about this before we started this interview, about how, like, interview Q&A, whatever you want to call it, about, right now things are on pause, but social media is more active than ever. And like I said, our friends at home watching the TikTok, watching the Instagram stories, doing all of that. So I'm wondering your perspective on, I'm wondering about your perspective on social media and how both, individual influencers, actors, performers, etc., as well as companies can utilize their social media right now to continue to promote themselves in this time, even though we're all at home.
Yeah. I'm busier than ever right now because most of my work is in the digital space. It's online, it's on TV, where everyone is right now. Everyone is on their computers watching TV. So we have a really captive audience. But for me, it comes into play when brands don't necessarily want to advertise right now because people can't necessarily go in store or buy things, or they don't want to cross that line of, they know people are going through some hard times. So brands are also trying to kind of reconfigure how they approach consumers and viewers. And so that's definitely been something we're all navigating together. But I just did a TikTok campaign, one of my first. I've done a lot of TikTok pitches over the last 2 months as it's kind of blown up. I've met some of the biggest TikTok stars back when they were small peanuts sort of thing, like back in November when they had, not a ton of followers, and now they have 50 million. Like it's crazy how it's blown up overnight. But I would say a lot of brands are now turning to things like TikTok and Instagram, because they know that's where everyone is right now. But they're also being very cognizant of what they're selling and how they're saying it. So I actually have a little clip of a fun one. It's like a kind of a pro-social campaign that just launched today. It's with a company called Truth Initiative. It's an anti-smoking nonprofit. And you would think, what do they really have to sell? They just wanted to get the word out to say, stay safe, stay home. And their hashtag was work it from home, WERK. And their whole campaign revolved around these fun influencers doing a fun fashion show from home as they, stay home and stay safe and, provide fun, uplifting content for people to see. So I think that was a really good example of a brand that approached and acknowledged the situation we're in, but is still, it's still getting the word out in a really positive way, and it's for a good cause. So if you don't mind, I will share that with you guys.
Go ahead. I would love to.
Perfect. I don't know if any of you know Brent Rivera, but he has about 70 million followers across all of his platforms. So we had him do a TikTok, an Instagram, and a Facebook video that he came up with, and kind of, this is his fun little version of it. And this is an example of things that I would cast. You better work. So that was just a way of, Brent was saying, stay home, stay safe, do something playful from home, but also promoting Truth's message of, staying home, staying safe, and work it from home. So that's like an example of content that I would put out, especially during these times where it's, people aren't necessarily going in store or things like that. So yeah, that was a fun one that went live today.
Totally. Building off that, so Brent, did he film that by himself at home and then send it to you guys? Can you talk about
so
how that happens?
Of course, yeah. We have a few different ways that we are shooting commercials right now. So that's one example where he shot it on his own from home, maybe with the help of someone he's quarantining with, but we did not send anyone to help capture that content for him, just, for his safety and for our safety. We just want to cover all our bases there. But we're also doing things where, in regular times, the non-corona times, we would send a cast, like a crew, to help the casted influencer capture content, and it would look more like a traditional commercial that you would see on television, 30 seconds, 60 seconds long. And it's like a full-blown set. It's a full-blown crew with lots of costume changes. It's usually about an 8-hour day. And the cool thing is the person we cast, because we're asking for them to post it from their Instagram and their own Facebook and to vouch for this product that they're, promoting in the commercial, they're kind of able to help collaborate on, the captions, lines in it. Oh, that's something I wouldn't normally say. So we really want to focus on authenticity and making sure that it's something that the influencer believes in, it's something that they support and that they would buy. So we really want to make sure that it's a good fit for the brand and the influencer. But typically it looks like a full-blown set, like a full-blown commercial, a director, lights, camera, action sort of thing. But during quarantine, we've kind of all had to pivot to new ways of, getting the word out.
Totally. This is so interesting. I feel like I'm peeking behind the curtain. So we actually had a question come in from someone that you and I know and love, one Derek Leo Miller.
Oh my gosh. I love, yes.
Also in Hairspray with us at the Castro Valley Center for the Arts. So hello, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
He wants to know about your perspective on actors and their presence on social media. So, how important is it to be relevant on social media? And when you are casting, what are you looking for from an actor or an influencer to help people who are trying to, I think a lot of people want to break into this market, but don't really know where to start. And I mean, it sounds like a lot of it, is just luck and chance, right? Like Charlie D'Amelio on TikTok. So let me and he does it, and when you're not defined as an influencer, when you're an actor first, you're not
trying to break into that space.
But
of course,
your perspective on that.
Yeah. I mean, like in theater, how your resume and your reel are really your calling card, on social media and in commercial casting, regardless of if it's TV or film or, just regular social media on Instagram and Facebook, like your public platform, your Instagram, your public Instagram, that is what brands are looking at. Whether you like it or not, whether you think they are or not, I will do a 5-second scroll through your top 4 posts. And if I see something that's, not appropriate really, or not brand safe, or it's not as kind of finessed as we would like, then that's, I kind of scroll on to the next person. But if I see someone who is, like Brent was, he's super brand safe, he posts funny content that is right up his alley, like that is what he loves to do, regardless of if a brand is involved or not. So I would say on social media, just be very aware of what you're posting, and how brands or casting directors are perceiving it, even if you think they might not be looking at it, and post about what you love. Don't try and be someone who you're not really. I mean, I follow tons of like smaller Broadway influencers because it's something I love, and they post all the time about different shows they're seeing, or concerts they've gone to, or what they're excited about the upcoming season, because they connect on such an intimate level with their followers, and their followers go to them for that sort of content. So I would really say lean into what you know and love, and make that your thing. For me right now during quarantine, I'm playing with a lot of dogs and I'm gardening. Like if I wanted to be an influencer, that's what I would lean into. I would lean into social media marketing and, Broadway. It's like, do what you love and people will follow.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's such an interesting explanation of it too. Building off that too, I think what Derek says about, not wanting to be defined as an influencer, like influencer itself is a word that's sort of like, all over the place.
Yeah. It's almost like taboo and it's in a way, but we just define an influencer as someone who is creating ideas or content that, a lot of people are consuming, and they're watching it because they love it and because they identify with it, and makes you influential.
Totally.
It's not a bad thing. An influencer can be any sort of genre, whether it's Broadway or, if you really love Irish dance, like there is an influencer for that. There's someone to follow for that. So, make it your thing and own it.
And I know you too, we've talked about this in the past where like friends we have, and when you were working with different actors, like now in movies, they check your follow count, and when you're auditioning for a pilot or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's this now it's so funny, like, 15 years ago, the word influencer, I mean, social media hadn't barely even entered our vocabulary, and now it's its whole own genre. I want to also talk about like the other side of things. So being a brand on social media, what your brand is, like for like Performing Academy's brand, and ViacomCBS has a brand, and the empanada place down the street has a brand. What do you see brands doing to continue to stay relevant on social media, that's working in a way that feels like sincere and attracts the audience that they're really working toward, on that other side of the table?
Yeah. I mean, brands are approaching it in so many different ways. I think now is the time where you can really connect with your followers and your audience, like things like this, like a Facebook Live. Something that is really important when it comes to social media marketing is just consistency. Creating something that someone can tune into on a weekly basis, or they know that you're going to be putting out this content. That's super important. But also, there's different brands who have their own brands. Like Wendy's online is really funny. Taco Bell online is really funny. But then there's these other things, Nickelodeon does a ton of pro-social work, that they're not just cartoons and kids shows. They do a lot of helping out in the community and highlighting that. So just defining what you're interested in and who you're interested in reaching is, the basis of it. I think what Performing Academy is doing right now with the Facebook Live stuff and bringing kids in to sing and connect with other students and doing online classes and being accessible, I think that is so important, and just evolving with the times. Like right now, Instagram is huge, TikTok is huge, and just leaning into those trends and rolling with it. I think it's a little scary, like getting into new territory that you might not necessarily be familiar with. People are used to websites. They're not necessarily used to, social media marketing. They're used to email blasts or brochures, but kind of the times are changing and we have to evolve with them, as that's where our viewers are. A lot of the students right now, I'm sure, are on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and things like that. And that's the way to reach them, is to kind of go where they're watching stuff. So I think that's great. And I would encourage, kids to connect with, different brands that are, safe, like Performing Academy online. And I think it's great. So.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say too about accessibility, right? Like we were saying, influencer and brand and all of that can be treated as like a dirty word, but at the same time, there are so many brands that are doing such great things, and there's so much, outreach. Like right now, there's so many people doing such good. Like my great friend Kendall Ito has been doing so much with the Actors Fund, and
Yeah.
BCEFA is its own, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, is its own brand, and they've been able to bring together actors from all over who have been able to use their influence to raise money for the Actors Fund and all of that. And I think that's just it's an exciting time to see how people are using this platform to affect such great change and do good things for each other during this time.
Yeah. And go ahead.
We have a follow-up question from Derek. Would you say posting something about what you love and wanting to share with people? So like you, Rachel, would you say posting about something you love and wanting to share with other people? Like what kind of things do you see people sharing that you interested in them as a casting director? Like, or like specific examples of things people are trying that would make you go, oh, that person's interesting, I want to see more work from them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff I work on is when it contains talent types like country music artists, famous pets, a lot of moms and family content as it relates to Nickelodeon and some of our other brands, a lot of TikTok stuff. So when I'm looking for someone, I'm usually looking for someone who already hits one of those things, who is a country music singer, who is a mom. But not just that. I'm looking for someone who is posting consistently, who is getting really good engagement with their followers, is responding to comments, is posting content that their followers want to see. I follow a lot of home decor and DIY influencers because I'm always interested in, you know, how they're renovating their homes, and I can ask questions there and they'll respond. So kind of leaning into your following. And you know, a lot of people online, especially kids now, identify influencers or people they follow online that they've never met in person as their friends. So I think that goes to show how genuine of a connection you could have with your audience if you really try. So posting stuff, you know, like Derek, if you're interested in theater or modeling or things like that, you know, how-to videos, funny bits about auditions, you know, all these different things. Like I like to come at it from a comedic angle. I love following influencers who put that sort of spin on things. I think Instagram and TikTok are great for that. And things like Facebook is great for kind of DIY creative. You know, look what I built, look what I made. So yeah, I think just leaning into like what you're posting, and then really engaging with your audience. If someone comments, start a conversation. If someone DMs you, like DM them back and keep them engaged. I think that's really important because that makes what you're posting so much more reliable and relatable. That's what brands really want to see, is they want to see that genuine connection with your audience.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying too about like that consistency, and you know, it's like whenever somebody is sharing, it's like when you see someone give a presentation about something that you can tell they're really passionate about and they really love, and then you can feel how sincere it is when it's coming from that place of sincerity and telling that it's actually something that you would do and that you're interested in and that you love and wanting to share it. I think is it's so important, instead of trying to show people what you think they love or what you think
Exactly.
people want to see, like starting from that place of sincerity and then having your audience come to you
Yeah.
from there.
People are drawn to you because you're like so like excited about plants. Like I follow so many like gardening influencers. I don't have a garden in New York, but I love like they are so over the moon about their plants, and I just want to learn more, and they're just so inviting that I follow. So it's like those sorts of things, like you follow because they have such like an affinity, and a love for what they're doing.
That's awesome. I'm learning so much from this, Rach. I thank you again for coming on.
Of course.
I'm also just wondering, like, you know, your experience with Performing Academy, right? So you started off with stage management and directing and all of that. Do you feel like those also helped you now that you're in casting? Like those skills, in what ways have those benefited you?
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, I'm sure you all know if you've experienced a summer camp or, you know, a show with Performing Academy, one of my favorite days is the audition or talent show day. You know, whenever I'm casting for anything, like I just remember back to some of those days of getting to see all these students and do their songs or show their skills. And honestly, it's because they were so passionate about those things. You know, when we worked with a lot of little kids, they would come and they would show how good they were at jump roping or Irish dancing and all these things. And it's just so inspiring because they loved it so much. That was definitely one of my favorite memories. But, you know, stage managing taught me so much just in terms of a regular office job, being able to organize, you know, keeping on top of things, schedules, everything like that. I feel like stage managing is the best way to just like, you know, make sure you have a good head on your shoulders. Like it's so hard, and shout out to all the stage managers who are behind the scenes, like getting minimal credit because you are the true heroes. It is so hard. And then directing, you know, you're kind of the face of the show in terms of your students, and so you really have to, you know, you have to be careful of like what you're saying, because they're like impressionable young minds and you don't want to discourage anyone, but you also want to teach them and sometimes discipline. And it's just all these things where you're really teaching them life skills and they look to you as a mentor and a leader. So it really kind of puts that in perspective that, you know, you have so much influence over these kids, and it's your responsibility to kind of nurture their dreams. So in that way, like I've been very grateful to have had that experience as both a stage manager and a director, because, you know, as I'm casting, like I have that empathy for actors. I've been in their shoes. Like, you know, I want them all to succeed, but obviously, usually most of the time I can only cast one. But, you know, if it's someone who I really like and is someone who is super mature and comes into the audition or is really professional over email, like I will go back and I will submit them again and again. I will try and get them in the room and cast them, just because they're so easy to work with. That is really one of the biggest things. If you're not easy to work with, if you're difficult, if you throw hissy fits on set, we're not going to work with you again. Like, it's plain and simple. Like, I don't care who you are, how famous you are. Brands don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just like, be a nice person on set, be respectful, be responsible, and, you know, you'll get deals. That's the fundamentals of it.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback off what you said about how you want people, like I was saying this to Darren the other day during our self-tape workshop about, you know, everybody behind the table wants to see you be incredible. We all want you to be your best. If anybody behind the table is rooting for you to fail, then you don't want to work for those people anyway.
Yeah.
But I actually want to, coming back to that concept, right now we're all at home filming self-tapes, doing all of that stuff. And you actually, I have to give credit where credit is due. Oh my gosh, I'm going to like pull my laptop over. This ring light was a birthday present from Rachel Florence Wagner. I would like to share with everybody. And it already has made a difference in like how I feel when I get on camera, just knowing that I'm well lit and like taking that edge off. Do you have any other tips on self-tapes right now and helping people succeed? I think it's the kind of thing that a lot of it's you know, a lot of us have done them, but it's still pretty uncharted territory that we're getting familiar with. So any tips for success on self-tapes?
I mean, a lot of people don't like self-tapes because they don't get to be in the room, but I really think the cool thing about a self-tape is you can try so many different things on camera, on different takes, not submit them, but just play. You can just play and, you know, see what works at the end of the day. It's not a one shot only thing like it usually is in the room, which I think kind of takes the pressure off. And then I would say good lighting, get a friend to help you that's currently quarantining with you. They can be your videographer, your pianist. Get good lighting, a ring light or near a nicely lit window is great. Casting usually likes a solid background, so either a solid white wall, a brick wall, any sort of thing that won't distract from you. This is a perfect example of what not to do. No, I'd probably be looking at the horse if I was watching this self-tape. So yeah, I would just say, you know, you are who you are. Your skills are the same, whether you're in the room or on tape. All you can really control is your environment. So I would say get good lighting, get good sound. Sometimes in this environment, a lot of people are at home over the same Wi-Fi, and it can be hard to upload things. I do highly suggest taping in 4K on your phone. There's different settings if you're using your phone, but if you can't, people are usually watching over a computer, not a high definition TV. You're usually not watching your self-tape there. So 1080 is totally fine if you need to, just being conscious of upload speeds and download speeds, things that you might not have to think about when everyone in your house is using the same Wi-Fi.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Just, yeah, one more thing before we wrap up. This has been so great. All right. Thank you again for doing this. I am like I said, learning so much in this new time. And it's so great to have a resource of somebody who's already been in this digital world for the last, how have you been there, a year now at Kusei?
I've been casting for a year. And then prior to this, I worked in brand strategy for ViacomCBS. And then prior to that, I worked as a talent agent for a couple years.
Right. So
Yeah, been all over the block.
you've been in this digital world for a while now. So just as we're wrapping up, do you have any parting final advice for ways young actors can continue to work right now, work on themselves, work on their technique, grow their skills? Any thoughts on, in a time where so little is out of our control, what small aspects of control can we take right now to continue to grow?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think it's really easy to kind of get complacent and be a little lazy just because you can't get outside or you can't get to your weekly dance class in person, but really seek out those opportunities that are online. I know LPA has great resources right now online. That way, once you're hooked and you love Miss Haley, you can come see her in person. But I would really lean into online classes, reach out to mentors who you've always wanted to talk to, connect on LinkedIn with directors or casting directors. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me along. It's great. But yeah, I would say really take advantage of this time. Curate if you want to start blogging. That's something you can do. Lean into, organizing a YouTube page for yourself that serves as your reel, and make sure that anything you're posting and anything you're uploading, no matter how old it is viewable by casting directors or directors. Just make your entire online presence be okay if, someone like me were going to go look at your page. Your whole online presence is your calling card right now. So really take this time to curate that and edit that down if you need to, but also start putting out fun content, things that you're enjoying doing. Take advantage of this time because I know it's really hard for a lot of people, but it provides us the opportunity to be able to kind of dig in and connect. People are much more willing to connect online now more than ever. So really lean into that.
Totally, like you right now, who is calling
Yeah.
all the way from Michigan. So just thank you so much for being here, Rachel. Thank you for doing this. I want to invite Rena to come back so we can all wrap this up before you go. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you.
Rachel, thank you so much. This was such valuable information. I feel like I just grew a ton in this with you. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your years of the work you've been doing.
I miss you guys.
We miss you, Rachel. I want to give you a big hug.
Big virtual hug.
Well, be sure to join us on Sunday evening for our Live from the Living Room at 7 p.m. with some of our Performing Academy students and our headliner, Julie Craig. We'll see you on Sunday evening. Thanks so much again, Rachel. And Haley, have a great evening.